No,
didn't
no,
like one another?
we didn't get along. We were four guys. We had rows. It never got in the way of the music, no matter how bad the row was. Once the count-in, we all gave our best. And that was a little later, too, which I think is a natural thing, you know. Suddenly, we've got lives, and I've got children, and, you know, the effort that we put in, because we worked really hard.
In a shocking revelation, Ringo Starr, legendary drummer of the Beatles, has admitted that the Fab Four did not always get along. At 83, Starr has opened up about the complex relationships and internal tensions that plagued the band at the height of their fame. His candid comments in a recent interview challenged the long-held belief that the Beatles were an unbreakable unit. Join us as we dive into Starr's revelations. The Beatles' rise to fame and internal tensions. In the early 60s, the Beatles emerged from the vibrant music scene of Liverpool and quickly became a global phenomenon. Their infectious melodies, charming personalities, and innovative songwriting captivated audiences worldwide, propelling them to unprecedented levels of fame and success. As the band's popularity soared, they found themselves at the center of a cultural revolution that would forever change the face of music. But behind the scenes, the pressure of constant touring, recording, and media scrutiny began to take its toll. The demands of their newfound fame left little room for personal lives and creative exploration, leading to a gradual buildup of tension within the group. Ringo Starr often found himself in the role of peacekeeper amidst the growing tensions. Known for his easygoing nature and quick wit, Starr had a unique perspective on the group's dynamics. He observed the subtle shifts in the relationship between John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison, as their individual ambitions and creative differences began to surface. As the years passed, the early signs of discord became more apparent. Disagreements over musical direction, songwriting credits, and personal lifestyles started to strain the once tight bond between the band members. Lennon's increasing involvement with avant-garde artist Yoko Ono and Harrison's growing interest in Eastern spirituality further contributed to the divide. Starr, ever the diplomat, tried to maintain a sense of unity and keep the peace within the group. He recognized the importance of their collective success and the magic they created together, even as the individual members began to drift apart. His drumming provided the steady backbone that held the band together, musically and emotionally. Despite Starr's efforts, the tensions continued to simmer beneath the surface. The Beatles' public facade of unity began to crack, and rumors of internal strife started to circulate in the media. As the band entered the latter half of the 60s, the pressure reached a boiling point, and the once inseparable foursome found themselves on the brink of dissolution. Paul McCartney, the workaholic driving the Beatles' prolific output. As the Beatles' fame reached stratospheric heights, Paul emerged as the driving force behind their output. Ringo has shed light on McCartney's workaholic nature and its impact on the group's productivity. Starr's comments paint a picture of a man whose relentless drive and dedication to his craft propelled the Beatles to create an astonishing body of work. McCartney's tireless work ethic was evident from the early days of the band's career. He was known for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to churn out hit songs at an impressive rate. His musical genius, combined with an insatiable appetite for creating new material, made him the engine that kept the Beatles machine running. Starr has openly acknowledged that without McCartney's drive, the Beatles would likely have produced fewer albums and songs. Quote, "Because of Paul, who was the workaholic of our band, we made a lot more records than John and I would have made. We liked to sit around a little more, and then Paul would call, 'All right, lads,' and we'd go in." But McCartney's workaholic tendencies also had drawbacks. His perfectionism and desire for control sometimes led to tensions within the band. He could be demanding and uncompromising when it came to his musical vision, which occasionally clashed with the ideas and preferences of his fellow Beatles. This created a pressure cooker environment where creativity and conflict often went hand in hand. Despite the occasional friction, there's no denying that McCartney's drive was instrumental in shaping their legacy. The Lennon-McCartney feud and its impact on the band. At the heart of the Beatles' success was the legendary songwriting partnership between John and Paul. Their collaborative genius produced countless hit songs and revolutionized the music industry. But as the band's fame grew, so did the tensions between the two creative powerhouses. In the early years, Lennon and McCartney's songwriting partnership was a source of inspiration and friendly competition. They pushed each other to new heights, crafting melodies and lyrics that captured the hearts of millions. Their complementary styles and shared passion for music created a synergy that propelled the Beatles to unprecedented success. But as the band's popularity soared, cracks began to appear in the relationship. Creative differences, personal rivalries, and diverging artistic visions slowly eroded the once unbreakable bond. Lennon's increasing experimentation with avant-garde music and his relationship with Yoko Ono clashed with McCartney's more traditional approach to songwriting and his desire for control over the band's direction. The tensions between Lennon and McCartney reached a boiling point in the late 60s, culminating in a series of quote-unquote diss tracks that laid bare the depth of their animosity. Lennon's scathing "How Do You Sleep" took direct aim at McCartney, mocking his former partner's musical abilities and personal life. McCartney responded with more subtle jabs in songs like "Too Many People" and "Dear Friend," expressing his frustration and disappointment with Lennon's behavior. In his 2021 book, The Lyrics, 1956 to the Present, McCartney expressed that, quote, "When we broke up and everyone was now flailing around, John turned nasty. I don't really understand why. Maybe because we grew up in Liverpool, where it was always good to get in the first punch of a fight." These exchanges served as a public airing of grievances, exposing the bitter divide between the two once inseparable friends. The band's dynamic shifted irreversibly. Recording sessions became tense and unproductive, with Lennon and McCartney often working separately and rarely collaborating as they once had. The unity and camaraderie that had defined the Beatles began to crumble, and the other band members, George and Ringo, found themselves caught in the middle. Life after the Beatles. In the wake of the Beatles' breakup in 1970, the individual members embarked on their own solo careers. John, Paul, George, and Ringo all released successful albums and explored new musical territories. But the aftermath of the split wasn't without challenges. The wounds from the Lennon-McCartney feud were still fresh, and the relationships between the former bandmates remained strained. Even Ringo, who had often been the peacekeeper, found himself embroiled in a brief feud with McCartney. The tensions arose when McCartney attempted to convince Starr to join him in legal action against their former record label. Starr, who had always preferred to stay out of the band's business disputes, refused to take sides. Fortunately, the feud between Starr and McCartney was short-lived. The two eventually reconciled, recognizing the importance of their shared history and the deep bond they had forged through their years as Beatles. As Starr reflects on his time with the Beatles and the relationships he shared with his bandmates, he emphasizes the importance of having a support system in the face of fame and success. He acknowledges that the Beatles' unique dynamic with four talented people from similar backgrounds played a crucial role in keeping them grounded and balanced. Quote, "I think it's all part of where we came from. I always give credit that there were four of us, all from the same city, and we would look at each other, one of us would be freaking out or being a big shot, and three other people would go, 'Excuse me,' and that kept us straight." Now it's time to hear from you. If the Beatles had resolved their differences and stayed together, what kind of music would they have produced? Let us know in the comments section below.